I'm the other black woman in the race. You know, I spent the last couple of weeks down at the Capitol fighting for the people of Georgia against that horrific bill, HB 1013. I want to commend Representative Byrd, who's with us today. She stood strong, one of a few, who stood strong at the Capitol on behalf of the people. We know that our government is broken. You've heard all the speakers. Every speaker that came before me talked to you about how broken our government is. But folks, it's even more broken than that. There is not an area in this state that we can talk about that doesn't have some issues. For example, the life question. There is no one in the state of Georgia more pro-life than me, and I can back it up. You can ask anyone, say my name nationally or locally, to anyone in this nation, just say Catherine Davis, and they will tell you my record. My record speaks for itself. But you know what? The pro-life laws in this state aren't worth the paper they're written on. Why? Because they're not enforced. They are not enforced. There's no one in state government that can tell you what the inside of one of the abortion clinics looks like. Why? Because they don't look. They're not asking those questions, and I can tell you the sidewalk counselors are telling me that they have violated the laws because pain capable, not supposed to be able to get an abortion in Georgia beyond 20 weeks. But the sidewalk counselors will tell you there are women walking in those clinics 22 weeks, 24 weeks, every week, and nobody's stopping them. When we look at education, it's supposed to be about reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? But we have an indoctrination going on in our schools, and our youth are being taught everything except how to read, write, speak, and think. Our children are being sexualized right before our eyes, and no one is holding them accountable. And when parents step up to try to hold these people accountable, what happens? Look at Gwinnett County. Parents were arrested for fighting for their children. Really? Look at Forsyth County, where a parent read the books that's in some of the middle schools and took some excerpts from their books to read to the school board. And what happened? She got gavelled down and told, you can't read that here because there were children present. Well, then why is it in our schools? As we look across the state, we have gangs running rampant in places like Columbus. In Atlanta, we have policemen, 300 to 400 policemen are gone, not policing in the city of Atlanta. So today, we can't go to Lenox and Phipps Plaza because we don't know if we will be robbed, raped, or whatever, right? Let's look at our state and see all of the broken pieces that we are being told to accept. Well, I can't accept it. When Stacey Abrams qualified to run for governor, the AJC reported that in a 30-second window, she said Medicaid expansion 7 times. House Bill 1013 is Medicaid expansion in Georgia. Why are Republicans promoting the centerpiece of the Democrat agenda? Help me understand that, because I don't. We are in trouble, folks, and we cannot elect your typical politicians anymore. I am not a politician. I'm a mom, I'm a grandmom, and guess what? I'm a great-grandmom. And I want to fight that my children, my children's children, and their children won't be put in bondage for the rest of their lives to systems that are locking them into failure. Since when does the color of your skin determine what heights you can reach? Since when do we allow people's behaviors to be equated to the color of my skin? I'm sorry, but transgender and homosexuality is not a new minority. It's a new behavior. And we need to stand for the rule of law in this country, and that is me. I'm a Second Amendment girl. Lula Bell goes with me everywhere I go. And I promise you, you don't want to meet Lula Bell. So I am asking you to think outside the box, because the soul of Georgia, the soul of our nation is at stake. This is not a typical election year where we can make promises that fall empty and flat in the face of what we are facing today. This is a new fight. And I promise you that I am the one to lead the fight. Now, I started the conversation saying that I'm the other black woman in the race. And I want you to know that I pray to God that Stacy or anybody else calls me an Uncle Tom. Because I read the book. And Uncle Tom gave his life to protect those women from an unjust slave master who wanted to beat them to death. So my slogan, life, liberty, and leadership, I promise you, is a promise. It is a commitment to the people of Georgia that I will give my life to fight for us to maintain our freedoms, to have the rule of law in this state, to allow parents to choose the schools that their children go to so that we are no longer fighting our school boards, to allow our veterans who have retired in our state to no longer have to pay taxes. But you know what? I think all of us should be able to go to a fair tax system that's not based on our earnings, right? So I am that woman that can stand and fight. I grew up in Connecticut. I've been in Georgia since 1995. I call Georgia home. This Georgia is not the Georgia I moved into, because even when the Democrats were in control, it wasn't as bad as it is today. When the Democrats were in control, I didn't have to fight my Republican brethren to do the right thing. When the Democrats were in control, I could count on the R. That R meant that we were Bible-believing, gun-toting Christians. Amen? We need to come back to a standard of righteousness in Georgia and in our nation. We need to come back to a standard that promotes family, that promotes life, that will fight for life, that will fight for family. And I promise you that I am that candidate. So I'm going to ask you to think outside the box, think outside the normal political rhetoric that we listen to persuade us to vote one way or another. I'm going to ask you to pray and ask God who you should vote for. Because I promise you, if you pray and you ask God who you should vote for, I think he's going to tell you me. So thank you very much, and God bless each and every one of you.